My first legislative election was 2008. I campaigned on repealing the grocery tax. It's only been 9 sessions, and we're here, and I'm glad. But I have to tell you, I think that there are those issues that we face as legislators where, we know the inside baseball, and our constituents, they don't. And on some of those issues, we have to lead. We have to persuade our constituents over a period of time that we've been right on some issues. And that they hopefully learn, and then they endorse what we've done through re-elections. Through the course of the recession, I saw, my opinion, that the immediate need was to create good-paying jobs, salvage what we could in terms of our businesses, small, medium, and large, and keep things going and then hopefully take off again as we come out of the recession. And I leaned forward for business-friendly tax policies that I felt in credits, deductions, exemptions, rebates, etc., would help us do that. And on quite a few of those, I heard a lot about how if we did this, the sky would fall. The sky didn't fall. That recession lasted too darn long, and for some people in Idaho, they've still been left behind. But if there's a concern about cost, and I endorse what the senator from 10 had to say about the cost issue, but if there's a concern about cost, let's just realize that we have, in the 9 sessions that I've been involved with, been doing targeted tax concessions in an effort to create jobs and grow this economy. And the economy is growing. The economy is not shrinking right now. And in 2019, FY 2019, we are going to see additional revenues, just as we do today, from those decisions that were business-friendly, targeted, credits, cuts, incentives, rebates. We're going to see increased revenues. We are seeing increased revenues. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. And now it's time to address the people who got left behind. And we know they're there. All we have to do is look at our personal income figures for the state of Idaho. We're something around, we're in the low 40s. The figure I remember is 47. We're not where we used to be because there are people who don't make very much money and they pull down our average. Not their fault. It's just the reality. And there are a lot of things that I consider about tax policy. They're the 4, 5, 7, depending on how you count them, values, that go into tax policy. Number 1 on my list is fairness. What is fair? What is fair? Well, ask yourself. Let me put it this way. Through the course of the recession, someone in my family was having a pretty hard time. And she would get $200 worth of coupons and go to the grocery store and get $200 worth of groceries, and then fork over $12 in sales tax. She had $12 in sales tax. She had a roof over her head. Her son, her husband was working. Was tough, but her husband was working. And she saw people who didn't have the money for the sales tax leave their groceries at the counter, humiliated, embarrassed, wondering how they're going to feed their family, walking out the door. $12 is a fortune when you don't have it. And our answer to that problem, the best we were able to do, was to say, well, you can claim that money back in the form of a credit, which, by the way, the credit doesn't cover all of that tax. But you can claim that back the next year when you file a tax form. What's a person supposed to do in the meantime? So, fairness. I know it's hard for many people to understand the world from that perspective, but that perspective, that reality, is the reality for some people. The other thing is, the credit is capped. Price of my groceries, price of your groceries, the price of our constituents' groceries, not capped. They continue to go up. So as the price of groceries goes up, the tax goes up. The value of the credit is going down and down. The whole idea of the credit was to be a bridge to the day when we could get rid of the tax. The policy, I would submit, thank you in large measure to the senator from 21 years ago, the policy of the credit was to be a bridge to the day when we could get rid of the tax. A tax that I believe is unduly unfair and burdensome. Another aspect of tax policy that I believe strongly in, we should avoid to the extent that we reasonably can the taxation of basic necessities like food. The bill in front of us does something that I really appreciate. I've gotten really tired over the years of being presented with tax bills that favor disproportionately narrow classes of income earners, typically high income earners. And we've all seen the charts that get put out. And this is a tax bill that is going to benefit everyone far more equally. Yes, it is true we have people who spend more on groceries and people who spend less. But by and large, this is about as equal a tax break for folks as we're going to see. Everybody buys food. Everybody buys at least a certain amount in order to keep themselves properly nourished. And everybody will see the benefits of this tax, of this repeal. The other thing that I really appreciate is just the bill itself, just the language that we have in front of us. It gives us a single policy choice. It's not a policy choice wrapped within a policy choice, wrapped within a policy choice, wrapped within another policy choice, like we so often see. I don't know how that makes you feel, but I get pretty frustrated when I have to cast a vote and there are 4 things I don't like about the bill and 5 that I do, and vice versa. Is that really necessary? What's going on when we do that? This bill is simple, it's straightforward, and it's consistent with the reason why the credit was put in place to begin with. The recognition that the reason for the credit was the recognition that we shouldn't be taxing this. What sense does it make to pay it over at the register and get it back 12 or more months later? Of course, we don't get it all back. And finally, one other little story. My first session, we were confronted with a proposal for a tax increase. And one of my constituents wrote me an email and said, "What's next? Taxing baby formula? Question mark." And I wrote back, "We already do that." Now, I think that my constituents are smarter than many others are on this issue. They get the inherent unfairness and burdensomeness of this tax. And this bill, unlike some bills we see, will give all of them the the relief that they understand they deserve in a simpler, more transparent tax system.